Well, here we are. Welcome back to the Sales with Callum podcast. I'm very blessed and grateful today to be with Lauren, actually at her villa that she's currently staying at in Bali now. To give some context, she's built three, not just one, three seven-figure businesses at such a young age, which is just truly inspiring. And a bit of for me, one of my biggest inspirations is Grant Cardone, and you had the privilege to interview him as well. What you've achieved is absolutely amazing. So I know you've got so much value to share to the listeners today. So I want to give a bit of context for you to our listeners. Obviously, you started out as in the online PT world. You mentioned about 10 years ago, right?
Yes. Oh, 11 now.
11 years ago. So you've been in that online space because the online space is quite a new thing. And it's like you started it 11 years ago. So before we even go into this, like what sort of motivated you and got you into the online world way before actually like most people were online?
So I'll do the short version of it.
Yes.
So I lost a ton of weight,
Yeah.
like loads of weight. And I stumbled across Kayla Idsenet.
Yeah.
She's this massive fitness influencer woman. Back then she was referred to as a blogger.
Yeah.
Because like an influencer wasn't even a thing back then, right?
Yeah.
And so I followed her, but back in the day, like 12 years ago on Instagram, when you liked or commented on someone else's post, you could, like your followers could see it.
Yeah.
So if I started commenting on other people's stuff, my friends from school would see it. And I didn't want them to see what I was doing because they would have mocked me, right? And taken the piss out of me. You know how it is when you're like 17 or 16 or whatever. And so I made a private Instagram account, but somehow people found it. And so then I was like, fuck it, I'll just make it public. And so I started sharing like fitness tips. And I was following other people like Rob Lipster.
Yeah.
And I saw them always traveling. And I saw them like, making a lot of money, living in nice places. And at the same time, I had just finished my A levels and I went to then go and do a gap year in asset management. So it wasn't really a gap year, it was like an internship. And I was just like slaving my ass and I was doing all these Excel spreadsheets all day and it was so boring. And all I wanted to do was go to the gym when I wanted to go. And so then I actually started online fitness coaching. I did it in collaboration with my friend AJ Morris.
Yeah.
And we launched a fitness plan. He coached the guys, I coached the girls. And it was so easy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally just made more in literally a week than I was making in 3 months
Wow.
of my job.
Yeah.
And so then basically quit the job, went to uni. At the same time I was doing uni, I was building my fitness business, got sponsored by Gymshark, did all the fun stuff like that, dropped out of uni. And then I saw my other friend, Iman Gadzhi, maybe 8 years ago. He had a course about personal brand.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had like double the amount of followers as him, right? Obviously, his audience.
That's a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a statement.
But he was like also helping me run some ads and stuff. And so we were just, getting on calls. And he said, Lauren, like, if you did this, you could easily be making an extra like 40 to 50 grand a month. I was like, oh, that's quite interesting. And so I launched a course about how to build a personal brand like I had. And then that's how I got into this. Yeah, that's crazy. That's 8 years ago now.
Wow.
Some people see other people have stuff and they get jealous.
Yes.
And I remember when I was young, my mom would always say to me, like, jealousy is one of the worst traits that you can have.
Yes.
And so I always know if I see somebody like has something that I want or their mindset is how like I would love mine to be. So I prefer to use other people as inspiration rather than a source of jealousy because like it is true.
I love what you've shared then as well, because I'm all about energy. Like, obviously, I know we're going to be speaking a lot. By the way, we're going to be going deep into sales today. I'm very excited to get Lauren's wisdom on sales and for you guys as well. But in regard to, for me, like everything's energy, everything. And you mentioned the word jealousy, right? Very common, especially now with social media, TikTok, Instagram. They go online, they see these people living these lives and they just start hating it. And then they're in that energy of being jealous, which is very negative. Like if you're on a scale of 1 to 10 and 1 being, you're in very low energy or 10 being your high of life, when you're jealous or bored or angry, you're in the lower ends, right? And when you're in that energy, you're not going to get anywhere and nothing's going to happen. So it's flipping it, what you did, into inspiration. You mentioned earlier, you've named Iman Gadzhi, Rob Lipset. You've been around some, people that are absolutely smashing it. What's been like your secret to networking for like the listeners listening that are say in sales or want to get into sales?
So earlier on, before I had like a network that I have now, I had a podcast, right? So
Yeah,
it's very smart what you're doing because I think having a podcast is one of the fastest ways to build up your network.
Yeah.
Because you can, like, we probably wouldn't have like met. You interview one person and then because you've interviewed them, then you can reach out to the next gets to then get the next person. The one that changed everything for me, I interviewed Ed Milet.
Oh, wow.
And so
Cool.
after that, that's how I got like Grant Cardone coming on and like Dean Graziosi and various other people like that. Yeah, so that's one thing. But someone like Rob and Iman is just like just getting in the room. So I literally just met those guys at fitness events. That I showed up. I wasn't getting paid to go. I went because I wanted to build my reputation and build my network, right? Literally would travel all around the world to meet other people. I would go to events that were like way beyond my depth before I was ready to go to them. And that's how I met tons of really amazing people. And a lot of these people I met, like, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And are still people that I keep in touch with now.
Yeah.
And even like, it's crazy because you can meet people then and maybe like, you just exchange a few words. But then in a few years, you stay in touch on social media, then you meet in another place and you
Yeah.
have, they then introduce you to somebody else. So I don't think like, other than the podcast, I was never really strategic about it. I just got in the room.
Yeah.
And I think just getting in the room is one of the fastest ways to meet the coolest people. Because if you go to the places where people share common values,
Yeah.
then they're likely to have similar interests.
Yeah.
So if ever I go to an event, like I'm not the one you're gonna find in like a techno rave, right? And so that's how typically I find people who's like interested in the same thing as me. Because I'm going to like, the business event, the health optimization and things like that.
Yeah, and you meet the right people. It makes you think differently. And I think it's the same when it comes to being in sales as well. I think it's critical to be focused on networking. Yeah. And it's almost like looking back at my sales journey, I always treated selling as my own business. Whether I was selling for someone else or not, I treated it like my own business. I think that's really important with entrepreneurship is having that mindset, even if you're currently selling for someone that it's not your offer at the moment, because it's going to make you think differently. It's going to make you move differently. And then when you come on to becoming a business owner, you've got the skills of selling and networking. So how important have you found that learning sales been in order to build the businesses that you built?
Sales and copywriting are for sure the number 2 skills that you need. When you know sales, you can kind of get whatever you want. Like when I was younger, I was so introverted. So I was like so naturally shy. And then when I was maybe like 17 or 18 years old, or maybe even 19, 20, I decided to do something that makes me feel uncomfortable every day. And I would tell myself, like, if I was out in public, well, then I'm never going to see that person again. I was so introverted, I had to like really do small little things, right? Like if I would see another girl training, I would ask her to spot me.
Yeah.
Because you never know if they can be your friend.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's uncomfortable because, like, I'm thinking in my head, am I going to disrupt her workout, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always about, like, asking questions. The better that you get about asking questions, Tony Robbins says it. Like, the better questions you ask, the better your quality of life, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true.
So true.
With regards to sales, I hated it so much
Yeah.
that I actually got really good at selling in the DMs.
Yeah.
Okay. But this also became an issue when I was like getting to scale my team because I didn't have the skills necessary in order to be able to train my sales team, which I now have, right? So back then, I was actually like, I've sold deals up to 100K directly in the DMs.
Wow.
Paid in full.
I want you to dive into this.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy.
Well, I think though, you have to ask yourself, like, why are you trying to do it? Because for me, I was trying to avoid the sales conversation because I didn't want to have the sales book because I got really good at copywriting.
Right.
So I think like there's kind of 2 ways that you can go in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the end, I think you have to get good at both, but you can get really good at like selling on the phone, selling via person to person, or like selling one to many.
Yeah.
Copywriting. So for me, I mastered the copywriting side. And then only in the last few years did I master the actual sales cool side, right?
Yeah.
There's just so many important things that you can learn through mastering sales. But I think for me, it's like, how can you get someone to change their beliefs?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what sales is all about. And so people need to be able to feel comfortable in order to change through the way that you show up.
I love that. A lot of like in my network of listeners, they're either going to be an appointment setter or a closer or a coach. They're like the 3 main people. An appointment setting is massive. And I've never heard someone close $100,000 deal, be able to achieve $100,000 deal. Because I have a bit of a philosophy that I guess if you can do something once, you can repeat it. I've always been face-to-face sales. I love meeting people, seeing people, speaking to people. But the DMs, when I was building my coaching business, that was so alien to me. For me personally, and for the listeners, I'm really intrigued to see what your process is to be able to land $100,000 deal.
So in 2017, the way that you would go about doing it is very different to now. You could just have a really short DM chat.
Yeah.
And then like sell stuff. And so then in like 2019, 2020, especially 2020, 2021, what worked really, really well was like getting people from the DMs coming into like a challenge or a Facebook group or a 3-day workshop or something, some live experience. And then what was really interesting, like kind of towards the end of 21, 22, you kind of had to have like a really long back and forth convo with people for a really, really long time, like nurturing them, setting them value, etc. Whereas now, what I'm finding is back to what it was in the early days, whereby people just want like that direct kind of conversation. So that's why I think being agile when you're in sales is really key, because I think that you need to know how to do the DMs, how to do the phone call, how to do the in-person interaction, voice numbers. Like you need to be able to do all of the different areas. Like whenever I'm hiring a setter, if they're just good on the phone, it's not going to work. They're just good in the DMs, it's not going to work. They need to be able to have these agile skills, because the understanding of like why the prospect buys, why they move through the process, you can be applying that to anywhere, right? Whether it's on text or phone or Google Meet or Zoom or whatever it happens to be. I have this framework, which is perfect, because perfect creates perfect prospects. I'll tell you what it stands for.
Yeah.
And essentially, I check off all these boxes before making an offer to actually have like a sales call, strategy session, whatever you want to call it. P is for problem, right? So like if there's no pain, there's really no more talking.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to convince somebody, like if we look at Eugene Schwartz's 5 stages of awareness, I remember when I was in fitness, I would get so frustrated when someone who was unhappy with their body, overweight, unhealthy, didn't want to go to the gym. So I'd start telling them why they need to go to the gym. It's going to just fall on dead ends, right?
It creates resistance.
And that's a massive sales resistance. Yeah, and it's a waste of time. So you need to understand, do they have a problem that you can solve? If you're, yes, tick that off. By the way, the perfect framework can happen in any order. So it's more like a checklist, right? So if, let's say, we only find that out at the end, it's okay. You can still make the offer. It doesn't have to happen PERFEC.
In order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
E, the next one is everybody in gold. So who is making the decision? So you always want to find out before you make the offer to have the sales call. Okay, like, do you have a husband or wife, a spouse or a business partner, etc., who should be involved in making a decision? We just ask it straight out like that. You don't need to like try and sugarcoat it by saying like, you know, is there anybody specific who should be aware that you're trying to, whatever you're trying to do? No, just ask straight up, like, because otherwise you're going to get on a sales call there and they may not know that it's a sales call.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just find it funny because people sugarcoat around it, but you really don't need to.
Yeah.
R is for results. So you need to understand specifically, how does a good result look?
Yep.
So that you don't set a false expectation, but also so that you have ammo for the pitch of the sales call to know exactly what they want. Okay. F is for fit. So are they actually a fit for your offer? Are they ICP, ideal client profile? Like, are they actually a good fit? So for example, in like the main offer that we have, we specifically work with people that has an audience of 5K or more, right? Plus, you know, minus 10%, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody comes through and then let's say they have 5,000 connections on LinkedIn, right? On our triage call or other DMs, we'll say to them, hey, like, I can see that you bought 5,000 on LinkedIn. Are there any other platforms that you're using in order to drive revenue for your business? And then if they say no, we'll further clarify and we'll ask, okay, and out of that 5,000, like, are they mainly connections or followers? Could you send us a screenshot of like the inside of the data? Because if they have 5,000 connections, that's very different than 5,000 followers. Because connections, they could have just randomly connected with anybody. Whereas followers is someone actually coming in to follow them. So we clarify that specifically to make sure that they're actually a fit. E is evidence. So have they seen some evidence that you know your stuff specifically applied to them? So we try, like, we have a spreadsheet that matches up like client testimonial, kind of like niche or results or where they started, where they are now, and then a link to the video.
Yeah.
So then we can set a specific testimonial so they can watch that prior to the sales call. C is commitment. You want to like make sure that they're actually already doing something.
Yeah.
Because if they're not already doing anything, then they're probably not actually serious about moving forward. And then T is time, how soon would they want to get started? If they say in 3 months from now, again, that's going to become like an objection later on.
Yeah.
So you want to just like overcome that right now and say like, well, if we had an offer that was specifically going to help you overcome problem, would that change things?
Yeah.
And just articulate.
And you do all of that before the call's booked in.
Well, it could be on a triage call.
Triage call.
So like, let's just say you're running an ad to like a triage. You just do that on the triage call. Obviously not the evidence that would come out and then get before the sales call, but the setter should make sure that the video has been watched prior to the sales call happening, because the closer's going to have way a high chance of actually closing the deal.
Yeah, 100. And it's also the same with like in terms of nurturing, building that trust, that credibility, going from cold to a call with no nurturing or no other content, it's going to be a lot harder than if they've gone through that,
Yeah.
the perfect strategy. I like that. I've not heard all of them in order like that. And I think that's really good for the listeners to take away as something they can implement straight away. It's like having a bit of a chat box. And like you say, it doesn't have to be in quant, because then it becomes, this is another thing with appointment setting, is the robotic.
Yeah.
And my business partner, Jordan, because my biggest trouble in my business was, oh, I know how to sell and I can train sellers and I've got so much value to give on that side. But I was like, appointment setting and building my own business was my own struggle. And Jordan was a master when it comes to the appointment setting side of things. And he said something to me that really stuck with me. He said, you just have to be human.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. When you do a conversation, like, do it as if you're on the call with them. And does it sound right or does it sound robotic? You're not trying to sugarcoat it. It's just being direct. You know, people don't want the fluff anymore. You know, there's already sales resistance in the market. So I think that's really, really powerful. So you mentioned that you closed a $100,000 deal. Can you walk me through a little bit of how that went down? Was it the exact same philosophy? Like $100,000, like, did you send the strike payment?
Basically, the main thing is like you need like an asset that explains like really what they're gonna get.
Yeah.
So I had a Loom video that like basically broke down the offer,
Yeah.
the what and the why of the offer.
Yeah.
So kind of like a BSR.
Yeah.
True, but it was like a private Loom.
Yeah.
And so like I just duplicated it and changed it so that it was specifically for them.
So that.
And basically it's pretty simple. Like as long as you know that, like I always prioritize the P and the F, so the problem and the fit.
Yeah. Because
After that, the majority is just you need to then, create demand through your sales skills.
Yeah.
Through your offer. So pretty much like it goes, they come into the DMs. Maybe you've outreached them. Maybe they've come inbound. Doesn't really matter. And then, if they're inbound, obviously you go straight direct, like just trying to figure out like why are they here. If they have had like an outreach, then from there you just have some chitter chatter and then you get on the conversation of business.
Yeah.
And then if they have any inclination that they have some type of like desire for what we do, then we just simply ask, oh, cool. Like, good timing. Right now I have a couple of spots open or like many spots open for what, whatever it is that we have to offer. And then if they say yes, if they're interested, then you send over the video that explains how it works. And then you add them to a hit list. This is like my number one secret for sales.
Okay.
And I feel like so many even good salespeople, they don't do it at all times. Me and anybody on my team, and like we also have a centralized version for the company as well, has an organized, structured hit list. So a hit list is anyone that we will sell.
Yeah, at some point.
At some point.
Yeah.
So like we have hit lists going back 6 years. Maybe even 7.
Wow.
So we still close deals from it.
Yeah.
Because we use this concept called an offer cyclone where we go through everybody on the list and we go back at them with a new offer tailored specifically to them. And we do it personally though. We don't do it like on a blast email. We do it one-on-one.
Nice. That's an invitation.
Yeah, essentially. Or just like a casual like, hey, Callum, like, saw you're in Bali. How is it? I want to check it out.
Yeah.
Just start the conversation. So it depends on which season we're in because we do different things at different times. But the hit list concept is so key because you're always going to have like an active hit list. Who are people who are active right now in the last 7 days, or maybe they said that they're going to go on holidays and they're coming back in 14 days. You keep doing the active hit list.
Yeah.
And you hit them up every day. You don't always send a new message, but you can always like an old message and they get a notification, you up to the top, stay top of mind. Or you can do some value add follow up. For example, a new YouTube video just dropped. You could be like, I know you were talking about looking to get more appointments scheduled for your closers. Like I just did this interview with Lauren, think you'll be really valuable.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want me to send it over? And then if they don't reply by the end of the day, here's the link just in case. And just send it to that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because like this is like how to do non-spammy DM.
Yeah. Lead with value.
100%. On some of the deals, it's been like straight away, boom, okay, I'm in, let's go. Whereas others, it's been, months of keeping them on a long-term hit list that they're back. So I can't really give you like an exact, but essentially it's the concept of the perfect framework coupled with the hit list, coupled with value-added follow-up. And then over time, you just build a really solid pipeline full of leads who actually appreciate you rather than hate you.
I love that. No, that's powerful. And in regards for yourself, you mentioned you hated sales calls. So then you the massive DM setting, which I bet you're so grateful for.
Yeah.
Why did you transition to closing virtually, like actually doing the closing rather than the DM setting? Because the fact you close a $100,000 deal. So what was your reason for doing that? And in terms of the transition, What did you notice to be the difference of closing the DMs compared to closing in person?
The main reason in 2019 why I shifted
Yeah.
and like really began to sell by sales schools is because I knew that that's how I built a sales team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. But
Yeah.
they're the best salespeople. They don't want to just sell through the DMs. Like they want to use their skill on the phone. But I think the actual best closers, they also have the ability to set their own leads and appointments when they need to. Because if you can have 8 calls a day instead of 5, why not? Like, because I think then as a closer, then you control your own pipeline rather than always relying on setters or ads, etc. So that's just something. But I was also working with Jeremy Minor at the time.
Yeah.
And so then he, like, through like what I was marketing with him,
Yeah.
I kind of, drank some of the Kool-Aid, right? And it's like, oh wow, like there's actually something to this like phone sales thing. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And basically my team got to access like what he was up to. We learned a ton of stuff when it came to actual like selling directly on the phone. And yeah, began building a sales team at that point. So really like went serious on that in 2020.
Yeah. And did you do all the selling through the phone, or was it on? Did you do more Zoom calls?
Oh, no, for basic. Well, I mean, like if you phone a lead and they pick up, and why not just close someone?
Yeah.
I just don't have like a fixed mindset about that because I don't really care. Like if I can just get in contact with them, that's the thing that matters. I go knock on their door, same.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. No, it's so cool. You hire closers, right?
Yeah.
I have a big challenge for a lot of closers and sales guys is finding the good offers, finding the right offers. And obviously, the better you get at sales, the more of an A player you become, the more you're going to attract. But for you, that when you're looking to hire the closers, what are you looking for when you're actually interviewing?
It's just super simple hunger. I'm never gonna hire someone who's like, just book calls on my calendar and that's all I'm gonna do. I myself will get in DMs.
Yeah.
And message people and prospect and book calls if I need to, right?
Yeah.
And I run the business. Also loyalty. I think a lot of closers, like they always want the best next opportunity. But at the end of the day, I've had so many people who have like worked here, then they've gone for some like biz op offer or something. And then they get like a shitload of calls, so then they find out that it's still a scam. And the other thing is like also just like logic.
Yeah.
Because for example, like the price points in which we sell, you don't need 5 plus day, 1 or 2 is enough.
Yeah.
For such a high ticket, even if the closer wants to make like 20K a month. So it's just also like understanding the economics behind like the actual what you're getting yourself into. But I think the hunger is the most important thing, but also like hunger and just honesty. Because I think sales is really like an open and honest conversation. And one of the main things that I think is so important is like being willing to have hard conversations. Because I've noticed that the closers that have been really unsuccessful consistently, and I've hired dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, if they aren't willing to have an open and kind of like challenging conversation, the discovery never goes deep enough. And if the discovery doesn't go deep enough, then you don't have enough ammo to actually make this sale. What is the most uncomfortable question that I could possibly ask in this moment? And that's usually the thing that you need to ask in the sales bit.
And rewinding back to what we were saying earlier about when you mentioned when you're in the gym and you'll speak to people, I actually have a question I use that makes me just speak to everyone. I always say, why am I with you? Why am I with you in the taxi? Why am I in the sauna with you specifically? Because I'm always like, they're either going to help me or can I help them? Or I know someone that I can help. So I like these little trigger questions. And that question was really powerful. What is the most uncomfortable question I can ask? Because the other side of that uncomfort is where the growth's going to happen, where the sales are going to happen. So that's really powerful insight. And I like how you're looking for people and you just want that hunger and you want people to be able to ask them uncomfortable questions.
Well, people then often start crying.
Yeah, it gets deep.
People always saying like it's B2B, but we treat it like B2C.
Yeah.
Because it's something to the entrepreneur.
Humans.
Yeah.
And obviously you've had the pleasure of interviewing some amazing people. Out of all the interviews you've done, what was your biggest lesson or insight that you've now taken into your business? Because like we mentioned earlier, networking, getting around new people is just so powerful.
I was speaking like at this event right after Gary Vee. What was so interesting, because like I'm there like, talking to everybody, like hyping myself up, like getting all excited. And what I noticed, because it's before you go in speaking, right? Like you go in this little like room.
Yeah.
And it's like very quiet. And they give you like coffee and snacks and whatever you want, right? And so he was just sitting by himself, like just silent. It was so interesting because the most successful people that I've met, they really spend time just with themselves.
Yes.
And so that was a couple of years ago, and it just shifted the way that I think, like, how can I give my best? Let's clear the thoughts. Let's just get a neutral state. And from there, you're able to deliver your best.
The internal game.
Which is because it was like so contrast to what you see on social media. Same with Graham. Like when I met him,
He's very out there.
he's so introverted.
You just would not think that. It's like a character, isn't it?
Yeah, because like there's that great book by Todd Herman, Alter Ego Effect. I interviewed him as well. And this guy is like, this is one of the most important books for salespeople. Because like for me, the way that I was able to like really get good at sales, like I go into the character. In that moment, I am salesperson.
Yeah. I used to sell boat parties. It was low ticket sales and it was just events. But then when I moved into high ticket sales, then I started to realize, oh, actually sales isn't just about what you say, it's how you say it. And the same with business, right? You are your cat. What was your biggest lesson from Brand Cardone?
Before I got that, he was just like studying.
Never stop learning. If you were to go back in time and you lost everything, your 3 7-figure businesses gone, your personal brand gone, but you had your knowledge of everything you've done, the success you've had, the mentorship. If you were to go back and give yourself a piece of advice and strategy, what would you give your younger self advice if you were to go back in time?
I would find someone with a big audience and tell them that I would do sales for them. They don't have to pay me a penny of base. I'll do it all on commission. Just give me the logins of the accounts and just let me close the 3 first deals for free. And don't even give me any commission for those 3. I'll prove to you that I can do it. And I'd work my way up and build up my savings, get my credibility, and then I'd shift into business.
That energy of you're giving without asking for receiving. Yeah. And I think that's a great lesson to end on. There's a lot of people, there's getting a lot of competition now, but everyone wants to be an appointment setter. Everyone wants to be a closer. But then there's also an abundance of now coaches and agencies and stuff growing that are going to need closers and appointment setters. So your advice is offer them for free.
Yeah. First 3 deals, close it free in the first 7 days. If I don't do it, then no hard feelings.
Yeah.
But if I do it, then just let me take 10 to 15% of all the deals that I close for you and all the catch.
How can you say no to that? Make an offer so irresistible that you can't say no to it. Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been watching your journey and it's incredible to see. And yeah, share with the audience.
Just Lauren Tickner on all socials, LaurenTickner.
Get connected.
Let's do it.
Let them know that you listened to this podcast, what your biggest lesson was. But very grateful for you investing your time and energy into listening to this as well, because that's the start of all of this, right? Start getting stuff into the education and it takes you down a completely different route. But other than that, see you on the next episode. Hasta luego.